Today I'm going to be making Paneer Tikka Masala. Now, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not entirely sure. So what is Paneer Tikka Masala? Well, if you're not familiar with it, it's Indian food, which I love. Hopefully you've had. If not, you should definitely try it. Indian food is very flavorful. It can be spicy. It's a totally different type of cuisine from American or Mexican or whatever. So, to make Paneer Tikka Masala, you gotta make some paneer. And what is paneer? Paneer is cheese, pretty much. It's a different type of cheese, whereas typical cheese uses something called rennet, I believe. Paneer, just kind of you boil milk and use lemon juice. So let's make some paneer for our Paneer Tikka Masala. So to prepare for this paneer, you need a large colander, and then you need something known as cheesecloth. Now what is cheesecloth, if you don't know what it is? It's pretty much something that can be used for crafts and cooking. It's just kind of this paper that you can filter things through. Like here there's a picture of a ghost because you can see through it, it's got holes in it. It's kind of like a colander, but it's more fine. So get your cheesecloth and double layer it over your colander. We're going to use this to drain off excess liquids later. So I opened up my cheesecloth. So I'm just going to cut out a couple rectangles and put them down. It's a porous material, but it really helps in holding on to solids and draining off your liquids. So there's one rectangle of it. And that's really all it's said to do for that. So hopefully that'll be enough to hold on to our cheese, our paneer. We need 1/4 cup of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now a cup is 8 ounces, so 1/4 cup is 2 ounces. So I've got my measuring cup here. I bought most of my ingredients from a local Indian place, Indian grocery. So it's definitely good to support local businesses, especially if you have like any foreign groceries around you. It's cool to go in there and check out what they have, especially if you're into trying new things. Not that these lemons are new things, but many of my other ingredients are. So I'm just gonna make sure you don't get the seeds in there. See, I got some seeds in there, so I'll have to filter those out in a minute. Now, if you have one of those things that you can juice a lemon on, that'd be perfect. Now we need a large pot on our stovetop on medium heat. And then you need to add 8 cups of whole milk, which is also a 1/2 gallon. So that's convenient. Now over medium heat we need to bring this to a gentle boil. And it said stir it frequently, so that parts of it don't begin sticking to the container. So gentle boil, medium heat. I'm very close to a gentle boil at this point. And make sure you stir frequently so that you don't burn the bottom of your pan. So what's going to happen is, as soon as this gets to a gentle boil, we're going to pour in our lemon juice, our 1/4 cup, and we're going to turn the heat down to low and just gently stir. And then at that point, something's going to happen. The whey is going to separate out from the milk. And the whey is going to be whey and curds. And the whey is going to be kind of like these greenish things. And then the curds are what we're going to be after. Okay, I would say at this point, it is at a gentle boil. Some of these bubbles are from me stirring, but a lot of them are just popping up on their own. And some smoke is coming off. Maybe you could be at more of a boil than this, but this is pretty gentle. So now we need to add our 1/4 cup of lemon juice and watch for everything to separate. And we also need to turn our heat down to low and then gently stir this. And at this point it should all begin to separate some. And then if it doesn't separate, oh yeah, that's cool. I've never done this before. See how it's all beginning to separate? Look at that. you definitely see that greenish liquid, you know, which is from your lemon juice, and then you kind of see your white curds in there. Oh yeah, that is really cool. I've never made cheese before, and I don't think this is the typical way to do it, but this does make paneer, which is like that Indian cheese in a lot of dishes. Cool, look at that stuff. Oh man. Well, that's going to be our paneer. It's going to be some cheese for us. I don't know how long you stir it for, but we do need to go drain this in our cheesecloth. So I guess we should go do that now. Okay, so here's our cheesecloth on our colander. And now we need to pour all of our whole milk cheese into it. Smells good. Oh, look at all this excess in the pot. Let's get that out of there. I'm going to kind of wiggle it a little bit just to make sure a lot of the liquid really... It says to get rid of the lemon flavor, you should run some cool water over it and let that kind of drain through it. So... It's funny how you have a whole half gallon of whole milk and you come down to this little thing. So just keep squeezing it to get your liquids out. It says use a technique where you twist it into a ball. I think at this point I don't know if I can do that anymore, but that's probably a great technique. It says twist the ends and then hang it from your faucet and let it hang for 5 minutes. I'll just leave it in the colander. Let it drain for 5 minutes. And then we're going to press it down in between 2 plates. At this point, it's drained for 5 minutes. I squeezed it out a few more times. It's definitely still got some liquid in there, but that's okay. I think it'll be fine. Put it on a plate. And there's techniques for this. You can twist it and set it on its side and make sure it's smooth and all that. But I'm just going for, you know, good tasting paneer here. So put it on a plate. Put another plate on top of it. And then weigh it with a can or something. Put some pressure on it. Now we need to refrigerate this for around 20 minutes. And then after that, our paneer's done, and we can make Paneer Tikka Masala. We have the paneer, we can do the rest now. Okay, so here's the paneer we made and had sitting in the fridge for 20 minutes. I'm going to unwrap it, now we need to cut it up and mix it with some stuff to marinate. Definitely could have squeezed a little bit more water out of it, so make sure you get water out of it a little better. Yeah, see, mine didn't come together well enough because I didn't really squeeze it super hard, so really squeeze it well. I can't really get it to come together very well, but if you really squeeze really hard when you're making it and really twist it good, it should all come together and stay together better. So if you have a normal size block, you know, and it's not kind of in pieces like mine is, you need to cut it into 1-inch squares, 1/8 an inch thick, so kind of flat little square pieces. So cut it into that and then get it into a medium bowl. So I'm going to get all of it in here to the best of my abilities. So now we need a tablespoon of minced ginger or ginger juice. I have ginger powder, so mine's a little different, but it'll be good. So a tablespoon of that, and then you need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So there's 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now we need 1/2 teaspoon of coriander powder. So there's 1/2 teaspoon of that. And then you need a tablespoon of yogurt. And try to get a yogurt that's not super sour or anything, just kind of like a plain yogurt. So there's about a tablespoon of that. Now I'm going to mix it all together using my wooden spoon. So mix it all together, and then we have to let this marinate in a fridge for about an hour, and make sure you cover it. Yours is going to look a little different than this when mixing it. Your chunks are going to be more like bigger ones, more square. So you don't have to put it in the fridge, so you can leave it out on a counter, but cover it and let it marinate for at least an hour. So probably in about half an hour, you can start preparing your other ingredients. This recipe calls for 3 medium tomatoes, and then if you have a food processor, use a food processor, because you have to puree them with a green pepper. If you don't, you can still puree it on your own and kind of chop them very finely and mix them together. So I'm just going to cut them into quarters, just for ease of pureeing it. So I got 2 kind of larger ones. So 2 larger ones and a smaller one. So hopefully this adds up to about 3 medium ones. I might have a little bit extra of the tomato gravy, which is alright, because this is going to be the sauce for our Paneer Tikka Masala. The recipe also calls for a green pepper. So the way I learned to cut a pepper was you cut off the stem, then you cut it the long direction. Well, you do cut it in half the long way, and then when you split it open, you can scoop out all the seeds. Because you really don't want seeds in this puree. So get as much pepper as you want. And as we puree this, you kind of go for your own heat level. So if 1 pepper's not enough, make it 3 or 4. So here's my food processor. So I'm not gonna put it all in at once, but put those in. Food processor really helps puree them. Now I'm going to get my final bit of tomato in there, my last one. You need 3 medium ones. I think I may have done a little bit too much tomato, but we'll see how it tastes. So unlike baking really, or more so with cooking anyway, you can kind of change around the recipe a little bit to suit what you like and what you don't like. So this is pretty much up to you. So I'm going to try a little bit of this. I still need to blend it a little. It's good. Believe it or not, I can slightly taste the peppers, which is surprising because I think I have maybe 1.5 in there. But if you want it hotter, you can add a few more peppers. I might add 1 more. But otherwise, make sure this is a good liquidy puree. So now, and I would say just use a tiny little container. We need 2 tablespoons of water. And then we need 1 teaspoon cornstarch. Put that in there, and then mix it in there nicely. And it'll look like that. Pretty much cornstarch, anytime I've ever used it, it just thickens things. So we'll use this to thicken our sauce later. So set this aside as well. So now take a saute pan, a nice flat one, and put a tablespoon of oil in it. And let it heat up to medium heat. Now that our pan is heated up to medium heat, just make sure you spread the oil around. And then we're going to cook our paneer for 3 to 4 minutes, just until it becomes lightly browned. And then we're going to put it back in the bowl. And it said this part should only take like 3 to 4 minutes, give or take. So just make sure you kind of toss it and stir it gently. You just want all sides to get cooked. You don't want to neglect a huge chunk of it or half of them. Now for the gravy, use the same pan. Throw another tablespoon of oil on there. And let it heat up for just a minute. You can spread it out. They say the way to test if it's ready is to throw a single cumin seed on there and see if it cracks. Okay, I did hear a cumin seed crack. It is very quiet. At least when I heard it crack. So you really kind of have to pay attention for it. But once one cracks, you can add half a teaspoon of them. Now you need to add a pinch of stuff called, and I'm probably saying this horribly, so anyone from India, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. Asafoetida? I don't know, but you only use a pinch of that. You stir that around just for a few seconds. And then it says to add 2 bay leaves. So there's one dried bay leaf. There's another. Just stir those around for a couple seconds. Now we need to add our tomato puree. Or tomato and pepper puree. So that'll steam up a lot while it's in there. Make sure you stir it. Now we need a tablespoon of coriander powder. So there's a tablespoon of coriander powder. Make sure you stir that in nicely. Now we need to add 1/4 teaspoon of, I don't know if it's pronounced turmeric or turmeric. So 1/4 teaspoon of that. Stir that in. And then we need 1/4 teaspoon of red chili powder. So throw that in there. Stir that around. Smells good. I can tell my tomatoes were a little too large because this really just smells kind of like tomato soup to me. It also calls for 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. And it says to stir this for about 4 minutes on medium heat, which I'm already getting close to just from adding all my stuff. So now after the 4 minutes, it says to add your water and cornstarch mixture. So pour that in and stir it around for a few minutes, which should help to thicken this sauce up. After you've stirred the cornstarch mixture around in there for a few minutes, it says to put your paneer back in. But also drop the heat down to a medium-low. And then let that cook for like 3 to 4 minutes. So I would stir that around in there for a little bit. Alright, after a few minutes, we now have to add, first turn off the heat. Turn off your heat. And then we need to add only 1/4 teaspoon of Garam Masala. So it's called Paneer Tikka Masala, so here's the masala. That's only 1/4 teaspoon. which I find a little odd. So stir that in, and then you can also stir in about a 1/4 teaspoon of cilantro at this point, finely chopped. And then it says we need to let this sit covered for a little while, for a couple of minutes. So I got a pizza pan that will cover it pretty nicely. And we'll let it sit for a few minutes. Okay, so our Paneer Tikka Masala was done. And if you followed through with me, we made the paneer first, marinated that, mixed some other things together, a tomato type gravy, threw it all together, cooked that, and now we're done. I put some basmati rice with mine, and the bread I made, it's not naan, but I think it was called like chapati or something. The bread was called chapati. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Hopefully I say basmati right. Sorry, people of India, for butchering your language, but let's see how well I can imitate Paneer Tikka Masala. Oh, that's good. It's definitely not as good as the local Indian places near me, but I've never cooked India before. This is my first attempt, but it's not bad. The paneer turned out pretty good, pretty similar to what you get at like an Indian restaurant. The tomato gravy though, a little too tomatoey. I repeated that a few times because my tomatoes were a little too big. The spices and herbs come together pretty well though. If you know any of these ingredients, and you know how to actually pronounce them, and you want to use more of a certain one, go for it. It's your recipe. The rice is good, the bread turned out good. If you want a nice homemade Paneer Tikka Masala, look no further.